little pilgrim clothed in gray on that first Thanksgiving day. Natives also clothed in brown come to visit Plymouth town. Side by side they ate and prayed on that first Thanksgiving day.
Searching for the unusual, the obscure, the forgotten treasures hidden deep within streaming media. This is the Deep Dive Podcast.
Plane in the sun!
Get below! Look out! Get below! Dive the boat! Dive the boat!
Take it down to 150 feet, steer course 090.
Continue to dive.
Hello, divers. Welcome to the Deep Dive Podcast. So I want to say thank you to everyone who listened to our Horror Month shows. We hope you had as much fun listening as we did bringing it to you.
Absolutely.
If you are new to this podcast, welcome. I'm Tom Feeney, writer for Wings Chop Movie Magazine. New issue available now.
No way.
That's right. That's right. So in the new issue, I wrote a hopefully interesting article about comedy legend / notorious egomaniac Jerry Lewis. Look for it on Amazon.com. That's Wings Chop Movie Magazine. So now that the shameless plug portion is out of the way, here as always is my absolutely incredible co-host.
Aw, it's Manda, co-host extraordinaire, famed beauty and lover of all things dinosaur. But of course, you already knew that.
And if you didn't, now you do.
Now you do.
How about
I love Jerry Lewis. But remember when he used to sing at the end of the telethon and made you cry?
Yeah. But he was an awful person anyway, but in real life. So there you go.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to read your article.
Yes,
I mean,
even though it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with his terrible personality, it actually, without spoiling it, has something to do with another aspect of his career that a lot of people may not be aware of.
Dr. Doolittle.
No, he had nothing to do with that. You're thinking of the Nutty Professor.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, my lady. Yeah, that's
you do that too good.
No, I've been practicing a lot when I'm alone. Okay, so why are we here? We are here to uncover some of the hidden gems. Yes, that too. Do your laundry. You need some change?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get that later. We're here to look for some hidden gems or unusual offerings lurking in your streaming media services.
Ooh.
Now, it's November here in the New England area where we are recording. Today was extremely cold. I woke up this morning and it said like 17 degrees.
Oh my, I was expecting it to be snowy outside too, but there wasn't. It was just icy.
It felt like it was going to snow, but it actually didn't. Thank goodness for that. I'm not ready.
Well, that's coming tomorrow, I think.
Oh, don't. Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Where did the year go?
Oh my goodness. Well, so we're ready for our 6 months of winter here in New England. So, yeah, and you can tell, the leaves are falling from the trees and the local serial killers are preparing to hibernate for the winter. But it also means the coming of the holiday season, right?
Aww.
And Thanksgiving is on its way.
Mm-hmm.
And, with it, you have the usual trappings, the dry turkey, the burnt sweet potato pie, gelatinous cranberry sauce,
lumpy gravy.
Yeah, political Donnybrooks, and the inevitable tryptophan coma, of course. But, we owe this yearly familial obligation to a group of settlers that came to this land hundreds of years ago. And I, of course, am talking about...
Who?
I'm sorry. What's this word?
Pilgrim? Oh! Pilgrims.
Pilgrims, yes, that's what it says here. So they came to New England from classic England, which I guess that's like going from classic Coke to new Coke, and that it didn't quite turn out as planned. These things happen. But they came seeking religious freedom, which means they wanted to find a place where they could be free to deny others their religious freedom. Funny how that works. But there have been many depictions.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And reenactments of the Pilgrims and their struggles and their dealings with the Native Americans they encountered. And that is our topic for this week. All things pilgrimy.
Let's go on a pilgrimage, if you will. No?
Yeah, I'm going to edit that out.
Okay.
Oh boy.
It's actually a misconception that they sailed from England. I mean, most of them were English, but they had to go to like Holland to escape the persecution and then sail to the States. Well, the colonies.
Yeah, so it was like a layover.
Yeah, but with a ship.
Yeah, so it took a lot longer, I would think.
Rats and smallpox and all that.
Oh,
okay.
So much fun. So Amanda, what was your first pick? Tell us.
My first pick, I actually really like this one. So my first pick is called Saints and Strangers. It's from 2014. It was produced by National Geographic.
Ooh.
Yes, and premiered on their TV station. Directed by Paul Edwards, who actually is pretty famous for Once Upon a Time. If you ever watched it on ABC.
Oh yeah.
Yep. The Fringe, Lost.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool.
It stars Ray Stevenson, who you probably know from Thor. Also, he was Blackbeard in Black Sails.
Okay.
Did you ever watch Black Sails?
No.
It's a good party show. Not bad. Also, Vincent Kartheiser, Mad Men. Most people know from Mad Men. And also Michael Grey Eyes, who is one of my favorites. Native American actors ever. Anyways, so this is a 2-part series. It's like a mini series. I guess you could call it kind of like an overnight movie, but it's about 90 minutes long each.
After 66 days at sea, wrought with sickness and storms, we offer thanks for our deliverance to this shore. We ask for your mercy. Beseech you for your guidance and pray for your protection as we face unknown perils in this new world.
It basically starts with the struggles from the sailing portion of it on the Mayflower to actually landing, and then within their first year, like it sort of encompasses their first year of life. With it sort of brought this like visceral almost and almost like a shocking chronicle of what happened, because of course there's this idea that they landed and they made friends with the Indians, as they call it, the tribes, and then they had Thanksgiving and everything was wonderful, but really there was so much hardship that they incurred.
Oh yeah.
So telling the lives of their first year in the New World, the stories of the individuals, which almost splits up into 2 categories: the saints, which are those who came over for religious reasons to escape persecution, to practice freely, and then of course the strangers, those who came for the immense profit that was said to be buried in the ground of the New World. So you had merchants, you had military men on the Mayflower, and then you had of course the who would become the settlers. And with that brought a lot of tension, because of course most people felt that they were coming over to escape a tyrannical king, and so that they could worship and pray to the god that they wanted to. And then you had other people who were like, you know what, let's just get in, get the golds, let's not care about whose land we're taking, what we're doing with it. And so then there's conflict with the tribe, and this story is, that part of the story is probably like the same amongst all the things that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
But realistically, these people had to find ways in order to not only navigate the land, but navigate the very like fragile and eggshell relationship with these people who see them as, well, demons, kind of, right? They're different color skin, they wear different clothes, they have like they build really wooden houses, and they're not expecting it. So basically it's the first year. A lot of bloodshed. It's not necessarily doesn't really hold back, because I feel like on National Geographic and like the AE channel, that kind of theme, they don't really hold back. They do the fake blood and FX and all that fun stuff, but this does play out kind of like a movie. So where can you find it? Currently, right now, you do get to pay for it. It is $9.99 per episode on Vudu, or you can buy both at the same time for $14.99. IMDb gives it a 7.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gives it an 80%. So it's pretty high up there for I would just say a really, I don't want to say overdone. What's the way, how can we portray that? A very well-loved genre of movie, shall we say, or story. So yeah, I liked it. I'm going to give it like a 7.5 out of 10, I think. Nice. Yeah, cool. I really enjoyed I really like the seascapes. So the entire thing was filmed in South Africa. Oh, wow. And there, of course, it's surrounded by ocean, but they have some of the most amazing coastlines, and you really get to see that to come to life in the show. But basically, That's my first pick.
Nice.
It's short and sweet.
Mhm.
You understand the concept of it, but watch it because it's visceral, and I think you'll really fall in love with these characters.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah,
I
thank
like
you.
that. Nice pick.
Thank you.
So for me, as with, all things historical
Mm-hmm.
that you can appreciate, of course,
Oh, yeah.
there can be as much, if not more, myth than fact being dispensed.
Well, yeah.
The story of the Pilgrims and their journeys and struggles is no exception to that, of course. Thanksgiving lore has been co-opted by every form of media to the point where we don't distinguish fact from fiction.
Right.
We have a specific narrative that is created around Thanksgiving
Mhm.
and the people who were responsible for that.
At least we do. I feel
Yeah.
like the Canadians don't necessarily share our view of it or how it happened. It's a little bit different, I think, in their opinion.
Yeah, but it's a good thing no one cares what the Canadians think. I'm just kidding.
Hey, they
to our
recognize the First
Canadian-
Nation people, so I think I would take their opinion over ours.
Hey, and to all our Canadian listeners,
All three of you?
no offense, it's all about having a good time.
Hey?
But yeah, everything sounds like a question. I don't know what that's all about. So my first pick is the excellent 2015 documentary from PBS's American Experience called simply The Pilgrims.
There's been a tremendous amount of memory produced around the Pilgrims. But there's also been a lot of forgetting. That memory is very selective. And part of what we've forgotten is how close suffering and violence were to one another. So, to look at what's been remembered and let that shed light on what's been forgotten is an important exercise when we're thinking about something that has been so central to our national imagination.
This was directed by Rick Burns, who is the younger brother of famed documentarian Ken Burns.
Oh, I love Ken Burns.
Ken Burns,
He also wrote a couple of
Civil
books,
War,
too.
baseball,
Yeah.
Prohibition, but also his brother, Rick Burns, is also a noted documentarian in his own right. So this documentary, The Pilgrims, delves into the personalities, the beliefs, and the incredible will to survive of those early settlers. There's so much more to the story than what your grammar school history teacher told you. So not only is this a harrowing tale of a small group of people struggling to survive in a harsh environment in a place they know almost nothing about, but it's also a fascinating look at selective memory. What we as a country choose to remember about the Pilgrims is in many ways reflective of how we as a society tend to strip away the negative to fit the narrative we want to believe. I mean, just look at Christopher Columbus as another example of historical whitewashing.
Ooh,
I mean,
yeah.
seriously. History is never orderly. It's messy,
Yep.
it's bloody, and filled with people who make very human choices. And that doesn't diminish their roles in history. It makes them more relatable, I think. And that's kind of what I took away from this documentary. They weren't saints. They were people trying to survive in a harsh environment, and maybe not all the choices they made
Oh, yeah.
were good ones, but they were very human ones, and ones that I think were just born about their experience, where they were at the time, what their belief systems were. And I think with this documentary, you really kind of get a sense of that. And in many ways, it humanizes it for you, because you begin to understand what their motivations were and what why they made the choices that they made. In hindsight, it's easy to say that
Right.
they should have done something differently, but
Faced with that challenge, what would you have done?
exactly what would you have done? And so that's what I took away from this, that the Pilgrims were essentially ordinary people who took an extraordinary risk,
Yeah. Okay.
and they for the most part actually survived. So that's it's a fascinating documentary. It's only a couple hours long, but it really kind of makes you think about what we believe as a country and as a society versus what actually happened.
And it sort of, toes that line between, do we make the effort to go ahead and demyth all of these things, or do we just keep it commercialized? Right?
Yeah, because it's safe.
Yes.
It's a safe and comfortable narrative
Right.
that we can hold on to.
Oh, yeah. It
Yeah.
kind of upsets me, actually.
Well, in
But I can
one sense,
understand.
yeah. In one sense, I understand that, but also you can kind of like, okay, there's no reason to treat Thanksgiving like some kind of funeral dirge, even though it was a lot messier getting to that point than most people choose to think about.
Yeah.
But I guess you can consider the end result is Now we have a place where families can get together and yell at each other every year.
So not much has changed?
Yeah, exactly. See that? So now as for the scores go, the only place I could find a rating was on Internet Movie Database, which gave it a respectable 7.3
it's not bad.
out of 10.
It's not bad.
If you want to see PBS's American experience, The Pilgrims, if you are an Amazon Prime Video subscriber, you can watch it right now.
Ooh.
And on iTunes, it is a $4.99 rental.
Not bad.
So there you go. The Pilgrims.
I'm so proud of you for doing a documentary.
I know I don't usually do those.
Yeah.
But I love stories that take the myth out of history.
Yeah.
And give you kind of the real story.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right.
They do say that history is written by the victor, though, right?
It is.
The majority of what
when I
we
find
know-
Victor, I'm gonna.
Yeah, Victor, way to go.
Thanks, Vic.
All right, my last pick before some honorable mentions is actually, I don't want to say it's not in the same time frame, but of course it doesn't necessarily deal with the Pilgrims.
Yeah,
we're sort of the same century, sort of. It's called The New World from 2005, and it stars Colin Firth, and Christian Bale, and how do I kind of, I can't pronounce her name and I just don't want to butcher it, but she's a very famous Native American actress, Koryanka Kilcher.
Okay.
Yeah, basically you'll see if you check it out. But anyways, it is a retelling of the Pocahontas and John Smith love story.
Ooh.
Now,
is it animated?
No, but funny that you should mention that, because I think your first pick rather led right into mine, because it's sort of trying to, dispel the myth around this animated love story that Disney cooked up. Maybe they didn't cook up, but they profited off of significantly by animating it and making it way less violent than it sort of actually was.
You're a curious man, Smith. What is it that you're looking for?
I've always believed that something good was in store for me. Destiny all my own.
We must live in peace with these people. Our survival depends upon it. I beg you, let not America go wrong in her first hour.
But let me get to this first. So the movie itself takes place, obviously many, many years ago. Colin Farrell is John Smith, and in 1607 he comes to the colonies, and he of course meets the quote-unquote savages, and he falls in love with Pocahontas. Now her tribe, and she is still the daughter of the chief, but her tribe don't really like it, and the English people don't really like it. They're like, hey, we don't want you to mix. They were super racist and all that. But you know what? They defied it. They said, no, we're going to love each other. So sort of, in the background, politics get in the way, and John Smith is taken out of the picture.
Not his real name, by the way. John Smith. Come on.
Well, he might have been one of the first Smiths. We don't actually know. But
fishy.
Yeah. He's taken out of the picture, and Pocahontas is led to believe that he is dead.
Ooh.
So then walks in Christian Bale, looking very handsome, as John Rolfe. John Rolfe was a aristocrat, basically, came over to the colonies, and Pocahontas is persuaded to marry him, and she starts to develop a couple of feelings, like a little bit of feelings for him, but nothing significant, right? But she married him. In real life, she did, of course, marry John Rolfe.
Yeah.
And then, guess what? John Smith is back, and she's like, oh, no, I am already married, but I still love him. And, it just becomes like a love triangle type thing. And, of course, it has a lot of fictional story and plot put into it.
Yeah, sure.
But the basic premise is the same, right? So I'll let you check it out so you can see the ending. I won't spoil it for you. But the idea here is to take the, I guess, more dirty version, not dirty as in terms of like inappropriate, but like raw version of the Pocahontas story from the Disney animated film series and bring it to real life. Pocahontas, of course, was the daughter of the local tribesmen. I think the Wampanoag, and what's funny too is that in this film it actually mentions that they did their best to speak a common tongue, which right now I think the Abenaki tribe up in the First Nations Canadian area still speak it, and it's not necessarily what they spoke, but it was close enough, and I thought it was really cool that they had someone on set directing them. But anyways, Pocahontas marries John Rolfe. John Rolfe takes her to England, and she attempts to sort of assimilate, and it doesn't necessarily go that well. She's out of place. They treat her kind of like this like sideshow thing, where they want to kind of like poke and prod at her, like, oh, you can speak English, and why is your skin brown, and all this fun stuff. So she didn't have the best of lives. But really, what's interesting about this one is that not only is it live action, but it makes an attempt to show a genuine connection between John Rolfe and Pocahontas, where just simply reading the history textbooks, you might think that he kind of just like, took her, stole her, kind of thing. Anyways, IMDb gives it a 6.7, not the highest, of course. Rotten Tomatoes right around the same at a 63. I found it interesting that the Roger Ebert company did actually rate it a 4 out of 4, which blew my mind because I was not expecting that. So where can you see it? Right now it's free on Vudu, which is always great, or you can rent it on YouTube for $2.99. So, do I recommend seeing it? Yeah, I mean, definitely it's worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of the original Pocahontas, which, by the way, that movie did quite a bit for the franchise. It was right up there with Little Mermaid, right? And it's synonymous. I think Pocahontas is synonymous with sometimes the earlier, what do they call them? The Disney
Renaissance. Really.
There you go. Yeah. And she's still portrayed as a princess. So yeah.
There you go.
Anyways, that's it. My second pick.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
I like it. So, as usual, I'm gonna hit you with a curveball.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Bloody murder?
Well, no, not that.
I mean, you usually have blood and gore.
Nope, completely the opposite way here. I'm not talking about Thanksgiving, which is I am not talking about
Are you doing a triple F?
Yes, I am.
Oh, what?
I am, yes.
Okay.
And for our audience, that means...
Family-friendly flick. I coined that, by the way.
Yes, you did. Copyright trademark.
It's the only thing I've contributed to this podcast.
So, and when we did our Halloween show, one of your picks was Mad Monster Party.
Oh, I love that movie.
And of course, the creators of Mad Monster Party,
Rankin Bass,
they are responsible for some of the most beloved holiday programming ever. They created so many classic holiday TV specials. There's Christmas, New Year's, even Easter has been represented.
Yeah.
But what about Thanksgiving? So for my second pick, I'm diving deeper into the Rankin Bass catalog for one of their more obscure holiday specials, 1968's The Mouse on the Mayflower, which you've probably never heard of.
No, I haven't.
Exactly.
I'll have to Google this.
You'll have to Google this. The Mouse on the Mayflower was an hour-long Thanksgiving animated special that was co-produced with the Japanese animation studio Toei, who later gave the world Sailor Moon and Digimon. So there you go. So this was not stop motion like Rudolph. Think more like Frosty. It was completely animated. So the story is told in flashbacks by a church mouse named William. Now he is recounting the tale of his great-great-great-grandfather who came to America on the Mayflower. That mouse, also named William, is a witness to the Pilgrims' decision to leave for America. So as the journey begins, William and the Pilgrims face scheming crew members and stormy seas along the way. So after landing on Plymouth Rock, William meets and befriends a Native American mouse named Thunder. Yeah. The natives are portrayed as decent and kind, except for one named, brace yourself, Smiling Buzzard. This was the 60s, people, and yes, they are referred to as Indians.
Oh, man, it's toeing the line.
Yeah. So soon the winter of 1621 comes with a vengeance, and some of the settlers don't survive. Spring eventually arrives, and the Pilgrims plant their crops as they are taught by the natives. That leads to a huge feast, which of course becomes the first Thanksgiving, all told in the journal of this church mouse, William.
They were giving a big party, and there had to be enough for all. And the next day, we had the feast to end all feasts. Oh, there was turkey and fruits and vegetables and big juicy berries and, well, you name it. There was even, cheese. Good old English nummy cheddar. It was the best bloomin' day of all the bloomin' days in the whole bloomin' year. No wonder it became a national holiday.
So it's cute. In the great Rankin Bass tradition, The Mouse and the Mayflower is a musical, and there are some nice, if not memorable, songs in there as well, sung by the characters. The voice acting is pretty good, and William the Mouse is played by someone named Tennessee Ernie Ford. If you're not familiar with that name, Ford was a very popular country western singer and TV personality in the mid-20th century. Mm-hmm. So the special itself actually ran for years every Thanksgiving on network television and then was syndicated for many years afterwards. But it has since fallen into relative obscurity. Now, maybe that's because it's not as culturally sensitive as it needs to be, or maybe because it's not tied to an iconic holiday character like Rudolph or Frosty. Nevertheless, it's still got a lot of heart and some good songs and excellent vocal performances. So, The Mouse on the Mayflower, where can you see it? What are the scores? So, first off, only on Internet Movie Database, a 7 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
For this special. So, some people have seen it, actually.
Yeah.
It is not available to rent.
Okay.
It is not available to buy. But it is available for free as of this recording on YouTube.
On YouTube. I knew it.
Exactly. So it's not great quality. Trust me on this one. It is not. It looks like it was taped off TV years ago and everything like that. But if you are a fan of holiday specials, and if you are a fan of Rankin Bass, which who isn't really?
Yeah, I mean,
you should seek this out. The Mouse on the Mayflower. It's a really cute little production. It fits right in there with the pantheon of Rankin Bass holiday specials, but it just seems to have been left behind, which is kind of a shame, even though its depictions of Native Americans are not exactly the most culturally sensitive.
Well,
so, but that's, like I said, context, right?
Yeah.
It's all about the times. And speaking of that, just real quick, hey, Disney Plus. All right?
Oh, yeah.
Get on board and get Song of the South on there, all right, please? Show some context.
I started watching Gargoyles today. I'm so excited.
Oh, I know.
You know what? You should do a microcast about Disney Plus.
You know what? I actually am going to do that next week.
Ooh, spoiler.
Deep Dive Microcast is going to be all about Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Some of the fun stuff. They had some technical issues
the
first day. So many people, apparently like 100 million subscribers the first day, 100 million signups.
Yeah.
That'll clog anybody's pipes. But still, it's going to be, I think it's very interesting. And it bodes well for the platform that so many people are talking about it, talking about the shows, things like that. So I think that's pretty cool, actually.
So stay tuned. That's going to be a pretty in-depth but short microcast. Because that's, of course, the point.
So 30-second stops. No. Yeah.
Just so, the cool sponsors.
Yeah. Now, as far as honorable mentions go.
Yeah.
I only have one. And once again, I'm going a little out of the box. It is a, I believe, 1989 horror movie called Warlock. And basically, it starts off in the those times, like the times. I don't know if you've ever seen.
It's a time traveler, right?
Yeah, Richard E. Grant, great British actor.
Oh, I love him.
Is a witch hunter.
Yeah,
and he has imprisoned Julian Sands, who is the warlock. But he comes up with some kind of time travel spell and travels to what is 1989 modern day America, and of course. Richard E. Grant's character follows him along, and they go off and they hunt each other. And it's a fun movie. It's not smart. It's cute. It's fun. It's got some fun special effects in it. But I give it that because it starts to take place in that era, which is kind of cool. And there's some nice little bits of stuff in there that I like. But yeah, Warlock is one of my like guilty pleasures as far as that goes. So,
I think I like Richard E. Grant. I really do.
He's so good. He's so good. Now, just to recap our picks, Manda, your picks were?
Mine was Saints and Strangers, the National Geographic production, and then The New World.
Very good. And mine were PBS's American Experience, The Pilgrims, a 2015 documentary, and the Rankin Bass sort of classic, The Mouse on the Mayflower. So, pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
I like it.
Not too bad.
I like it. Not too bad. So be sure to visit our website at thedeepdivepodcast.com. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast.
Absolutely.
And do you have anyone you want to thank this week?
Let's see. Well, I think we should give a huge shout out again to Paloma. She was on our last episode of our horror month, and that was so much fun.
That was a lot of fun. We had a good time.
I would say too, we've got a lot of new Instagram followers. So hello to everybody there. We're pretty active on Instagram.
Yeah.
You can find us at the Deep Dive Podcast. And I would also say Podbean, because we're getting so many followers through Podbean.
Yes,
they're
fantastic.
an excellent platform. We really love them. And
couldn't be happier with that. And thank you to all of our listeners everywhere. No matter where you're listening from, no matter what country you're listening from, welcome.
California.
Yeah. Well, oh, hey.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Hey, they're recovering from the fires.
Yet. I know. I'm sorry. That was in bad taste.
So, yeah. So, and you know, the feedback we get only makes us better. Keep sending ideas and suggestions. We might even use them. Probably not, though.
Oh, I have one last thank you.
Yes.
Bob Acorn.
Oh, yes.
I love Bob. Bob is amazing, but he also tweaked our intro music for the microcast.
Yes. He did the lounge theme for the Deep Dive podcast.
It was like a sort of 1940s.
Kind of a jazzy riff, which I like.
Brilliant. It was so good.
Yes.
So thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. And so, for the amazing Manda and all of us here in Studio D, I'm Tom Feeney.
See ya.
See you next time.
Bye.
Special thanks to Spirits of the Symphonic and EchoCraft for our amazing theme music. If you like us, you can subscribe on iTunes, Podbean, Overcast, or wherever fine podcasts are found. The Deep Dive Podcast is a production of Automaton Media.
Oh, take her easy there, Pilgrim.